Hi, welcome back to another one. So today I've got another mid-year kind of wrap-up video where we're going to be talking about all of the series that I have either started, continued, finished in 2025, and then also all of the series that I'm still in the middle of that I need to read and get finished up. So I got the idea for this video from Becca and the Books from her YouTube channel, and I will link the video below. She breaks hers up into a couple parts. She reads a lot more books than I do. The rough idea for this video from her, and so I've got a couple categories to talk about today for all of the different series that I've been reading. So let's start off with the first one. So the series that I've caught up in 2025. So these are the series that they have no more books that are set to be published in the year 2025. I have read as much as I can in this series, and I'm at a stopping point until the next book is released. And there's only one book on that list, and that is Onyx Storm. So this book was released in January, and I read it in March, and the next book in this series has not been announced yet, so we don't even know when that one's going to come out. So this is the singular series that I am caught up in. There are no books currently out, and there are no books set to come out in 2025. So only Onyx Storm. Then the next category is series that I have DNF'd in 2025. So I've got two series that I've DNF'd. The first one might come as a shock to some people, and that is Beartown by Fredrik Backman. So I listened to the audiobook of the first book in that series, Beartown, in July. I think it was at the beginning of July. And it was fine. The book was fine. I didn't hate it. It was just okay for me. And I don't see the need to continue on with that story. At least to me, that book kind of wrapped everything up. There aren't any loose ends. So I feel that I am just fine not reading, I think, the other two books in that series, especially since I didn't love it. I think I gave it like a 3-star or something like that. I can't remember exactly, but I just don't feel the need to go on with that. And then the second book on this list is the Saints of Denver series. I can't remember her name. Why can't I remember her name? So the Saints of Denver series. So I have read the Marked Men series by the same author, and I absolutely loved that series. It was so good. So the Saints of Denver is kind of a spin-off of that series. So these are kind of secondary characters that were in the first series, and now we're getting stories about them. And the main male character in this book I really enjoyed. It was the main female character that I didn't really like. She was kind of obnoxious, and it was a constant battle of, I like him, no I don't like him. I can't stop thinking about him, but I don't want to be with him. Like, I see him and I give in to him, and we hook up, but then I totally back off and want nothing to do with him. And just her, like, she didn't think she had any self-worth. She didn't love herself, and it was just, I got bored with it. I only made it halfway through that book and DNF'd it, and just felt like I didn't need to continue on with that series. So those are the two series that I have DNF'd in 2025. Now, I have actually completed a couple of series in 2025, which I'm super excited about, because that's the end goal, right? To actually complete the series that you've started. And that can be difficult, especially when a lot of fantasy books, they're series. There are very few standalone fantasies. And even a lot of romance books nowadays, they're a series or a series of interconnected standalones, which I treat that as a series. Because a lot of the times in those, you do get characters that make appearances in the other books. So I really treat those as series in and of themselves. There are very few instances where they are actually not connected at all, and there's no overlap in any characters. So the series that I have completed so far in 2025 are the Sookie Stackhouse series by Charlaine Harris. And if you watched my June wrap-up, you'll know that I finished the last book in this series in June. And I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed this series. It has been a long time coming that I finally finished this series. I had read every single book except for the last one, like 10 or 15 years ago, something like that. I can't remember exactly when. It's been so long. So finally read the last book in this series. I don't know what I was waiting for. I just never got around to it. So enjoyed this book, really enjoyed the whole series. I liked the TV show True Blood up until like, I don't know, the 4th season or something, where it totally strayed from the books and basically then had nothing to do with the books anymore. So I like the books much better than at least the last half of the TV show. The first 2 seasons of the TV show were awesome, maybe even the 3rd, because they followed exactly with the books. But I finished the Sookie Stackhouse series. The second series that I finished this year was the Secrets of the Nile duology. And I started and finished this series this year. The first book is What the River Knows, and the second book is Where the Library Hides. And again, I loved this duology. I really enjoyed Isabel Ibanez's writing. I enjoyed the main characters, Inez and Wit. I just really loved their story. I loved learning more about Egypt and the unique magic system that is in these books. I loved the history. I just really, really enjoyed these books, and I really think they're worth the read. So this was another series that I started and finished this year. And then, of course, I finished the Hunger Games series. So Sunrise on the Reaping came out this year in 2025, and I had already caught up in the series before that, but since the new book came out, I then had to read the new book. So I did read Sunrise on the Reaping and loved it. Loved hearing about Haymitch and his story. It was obviously devastating, but still such a good read. So that's another series that I finished. And if Suzanne Collins publishes more books in the Hunger Games world, I will be reading those as well. And the final series that I have completed so far in 2025 is the Maddox Brothers series by Jamie McGuire. So this is the first book. This is Beautiful Disaster, and she's kind of broken them up into 2 separate series, where you have the Beautiful series and then the Maddox Brothers, which those other books are about Travis's other brothers. But to me, it's all just one big series. Because some of the Maddox Brothers books you have to read in conjunction with some of these books, so they're interconnected. And I finally finished all of the Maddox Brothers books. I think in January of this year. I think the last 4 books in January, and I enjoyed them. They were a good read. Oh, actually, I think she just came out with another book in that series. And I won't be reading it. So I enjoyed the series. I really liked it. I think that book 5, which was Beautiful Forever. Let me look it up. So she did come out with a 6th book in this series, and I won't be reading that. And I'll let you know why in a second. So I loved books 1 through 4.5. I thought book 4.5 was good. I thought book 5, A Beautiful Funeral, was not necessary. I think that, personally, I think that was just the author trying to drag out the series. I didn't see a point to that book. It's rather short. I think it was 250 pages, maybe at the longest. And I just thought it was okay. I think there were a lot of things in that book that just weren't necessary. It was just trying to squeeze more out of the story. That's what it felt like to me. And now book 6, which is Beyond Oblivion. So this book is about Trenton Maddox and his wife Camille. Now, I don't like Camille. I think she creates a lot of issues in the other books, like with the other characters, for no reason. So I don't really like her character, and I have no desire to read more about her. I don't like a lot of the things that she's done in the past in these books. I just don't care for her. So I feel no need to continue to read that book. So I guess that's another series that I've DNF'd. Because I did forget that there was another book in that series that she just published in March. So finished it or DNF'd it, whichever. I'm not reading any more books in that series. So the Maddox Brothers series by Jamie McGuire. Finished with that one too. So the next category is books in a series that I've read this year that still have another book coming out in 2025. So I've read at least one book in the series, and it still has a book that's coming out in 2025. So there's only one series on this list, and that is the My Vampire series by Jenna Levine. And this is the first book in the series, and I read this a couple years ago, and I really loved it. I just finished My Vampire Plus One and really enjoyed that as well. Love that story. And the third book in this series, I think it's called Road Trip with a Vampire, is coming out in September or October. I think September of this year. So I've already got that one on my list to read. I really enjoy this series. I like the characters. I like the banter. They're funny, and I just really enjoy this series. So series that I've read in 2025 that still has a book that's coming out this year. Kind of confusing, sorry. I tried to make this as least complicated as I could, and I don't think that I succeeded very well. But anyway, at least there's only one book on that list. So then, the list that you want to see the shortest, but is never short, are the series that I've started in 2025. And unfortunately, that list is longer than I would like it to be. However, I do have plans to finish most of these series before the end of the year. Series that I've started in 2025. Let's start off with one of the best ones. That would be the Flesh and Fire series by Jennifer L. Armentrout. So I read the first book in this series in July as part of my From Blood and Ash, Flesh and Fire reread / getting caught up on the series before book 6 comes out in September. So I read A Shadow in the Ember, and I'm about to start the second book in this series, and I absolutely loved this book. I love Nyktos, I love Sarah, I love the storyline, I love everything about this book. So freaking good. So, yes, I did start this series this year. However, I do plan to complete it in September because of my getting caught up on the series. And I've got the books scheduled out to all be finished by September. So, planning on finishing this book or this series this year anyways, but I did start this series. Another series that I started, can you count it as being started if you're doing a reread? I don't know, but From Blood and Ash. So technically restarted this series because I had read books 1 through 4 previously, so those were rereads for me. But again, I love this series. I love Cass. I love Poppy. I love their story. I freaking love Kieran so much. I love Reaver. I love all the banter. I just love these books so much. They're so freaking good. So yes, I started this series this year, but again, planning on getting caught up on this specific series in September with book 6 coming out. So then I started Heartstrings by B.K. Borison. I read First Time Caller. I listened to the audiobook and I love this book. It was cute. I loved the main characters. I loved the daughter. I loved the banter back and forth. I really enjoyed the story. I've loved every B.K. Borison book that I've read. I always listen to the audiobooks. The audiobooks are excellent. I really, really enjoy this author's writing. And I've already pre-ordered her Christmas book. I think it's called Good Spirits. So I've already pre-ordered that book. So that's another series that I'll eventually be starting this year. But I did start Heartstrings. Book 2 comes out sometime next year, so I won't be able to continue with that series until next year, but I love B.K. Borison's books. Then, we've already kind of talked about this, but The Secrets on the Nile duology. I did start this series this year. However, I've also completed it because it's only 2 books that we know of. It's only supposed to be a duology. Sometimes the authors will then throw in like a prequel or another book afterwards. So as of right now, it's only these 2 books, and I did start the series and finish it this year. The next one we have is Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. So I read the first book in this series, I think in May. I think I read that book in May. Really enjoyed it. Really loved the characters. Loved the main male character. He was amazing. Love this author's writing. I love the story behind it and just the overarching theme of the book. I really enjoyed it. So there are at least 2 other books in this series as of now. Have not gotten to those yet. So hopefully that series will pop up in one of our spinner wheel TBRs so that I can continue with that series because I really enjoyed the first book. So I did start this series by Amber Chen, which is called The Fall of the Dragon. And the first book is Of Jade and Dragons. And I'm not sure if this is supposed to be a duology or if there are going to be more books in this series. I'm not sure. But the second book, The Blood Phoenix, came out in June. I've already got that book. I got the Illumicrate edition to match this one, and I do plan on reading that book this year. So I will at least have caught up in the series, if not finished it, if it's a duology. I'll have to do some more research in that because I don't know if it's going to be 2 books or if there are going to be more books in this series. Overall, this book actually wrapped up pretty well. And the second book, The Blood Phoenix, continues the story a couple of years later. So you don't necessarily have to read the second book in the series unless you really, really want to. I really enjoyed this first book. I gave it 4.5 stars. I loved the story. I loved the unique engineering guild and the inventions that they came up with. I enjoyed the steampunk kind of vibes of the story. I enjoyed the characters. So I really loved this book, and I am excited to read the second book in this series. And the final series that I started in 2025 is the Gold Rush Ranch series by Elsie Silver. So I have read the first 2 books in that series so far. Really enjoyed them. I think I gave them like 4.25 stars, something like that. So really enjoyed them, really good reads. I've got book number 3 on my August TBR. So I will be continuing the series next month. And then hopefully I can get book 4 read soon. So then that will be the series complete. And then I can start the Chestnut Springs series about the Eaton brothers. And I'm excited about those books too, because I've heard they're way better than the Gold Rush Ranch series books. And I have enjoyed Gold Rush Ranch. So excited to read those two. But I have read 2 in the series, reading the 3rd next month, and hopefully the 4th by the end of the year. We will have to see. Hopefully it will come up on the Spinner Wheel TBR. Okay, gosh, my knees hurt so bad. And then the next category are series that I've continued in 2025. So I started these series previously in a different year, and I've continued those series in 2025, but I'm not quite finished with them yet. So the first series is the How to Date a Douchebag series by Sarah Ney. Now, I read book 5. I read book 5 in May or June, I can't remember, and didn't like it as much as the previous ones, but I still have book 5.5 left, and that book is only like 150-ish pages or less, and I've already got it checked out on KU, so I just need to read it. It hasn't come up in my Spinner Wheel TBR. However, I might just read it because it's short, and then I'll have completed that series. So the How to Date a Douchebag series, I only have a novella left, and then I'll be totally done with that series. So then the next series is the London Prep series by Gillian Dodd. So I've read book 5. I think I read book 5 in May, and enjoyed getting back into this world. I spent like the first half of the book trying to remember what had gone on in the previous books because it has been so long since I've read them that I couldn't really remember. So I'm going to attempt to not let that happen again. So I read book 5 this year. There are 9 books in the series. I've already got them all checked out on KU, so I just need to read them. And hopefully they'll come up on Spinner Wheel TBR, but you know, who knows. But I do need to read the last 4 books in that series. Another series that I've continued this year is the Inheritance Cycle by Christopher Paolini. Now, I started this series again as a reread in 2024, and I read Eragon. I love this series. And then this year I've read Eldest and Brissinger, and I've got Inheritance, which is the 4th book on my August TBR. So I will be reading book 4 in the series in August, and I'm hoping to get the last book, book 5, which is Murtag's book, onto a TBR before the end of the year. So series that I've continued is the Inheritance Cycle by Christopher Paolini. Okay, 2 more series that I've continued in 2025. One is the Fallen Crest series universe. So the actual Fallen Crest series is only 6 books, and I finished that years and years ago. However, there is a much bigger world that Tejan has created and has continued to write books for over the last, I don't know, 10 years or something. I wanted to read all of these books in order because they do have a lot of overlapping characters. Even though technically some of them are standalones, they still do have characters from other books in the different series. Whether it's the Fallen Crest series, the Crew series, or any of the other quote standalones. They all have a lot of overlap. So I have read, I think, 4 books in the universe this year. So I'm really glad that I have been able to get so many of those books on my TBRs because I love Tijan's writing. She's one of my all-time favorite authors. I have read so many of her books, and I love like pretty much every single one of them. Her writing is amazing. Her storyline, the things that she comes up with, so great. So I absolutely 100% recommend all of her books, especially the Fallen Crest series. And if you want to continue into the universe, it's quite long, but it's so, so worth it. So I think I only have 2 books left in the universe until I completely finish it, because she wrote the last Fallen Crest book in December of 2024, and I don't think she has any plans to continue in this world, which is sad, but you know, it's an end of an era. She writes a lot of other books and a lot of other series that are also amazing. So I have read, I think, four books in the Fallen Crest universe so far this year, and I only have 2 left. Only 2 left, so we'll see. And the last series that I have continued in 2025 is the Outlander series. So I read book 6 in January, and it took me pretty much the whole month to get that book read, I think. Maybe it only took me a couple weeks. Anyway, it took me a really long time to get that book read. I started it right after Christmas and didn't finish it until like maybe mid-January or something like that. I can't remember exactly, but book 6 I finished in January, and previous to that it had been a while since I read a book in the series because these books are so long. I think book 6 was like, I think book 6 is the longest one. Book 5 might be just as long, but they're like, I think book 6 was like 1,800 pages or something like that. It's crazy how long those books are. And currently, I'm reading book number 7 because it came up on my July Spinner Wheel TBR. And is it close to the end of the month? Yes. Am I done reading it? No. Did I start it on July 1st? Yeah, I did. And I'm still not done with it because it's like 1,400 pages long. It's long. So trying to get through that. I think I'm about halfway through right now, something like that. But I absolutely love Jamie Fraser so much. And Claire, I love her. I love the story. Now, do I think that some of the details are not necessary? Yeah, I do. But the overall story and their journeys, I absolutely love it. And I love the TV show. I love the books. I love all things Outlander. No. Do I love Lord John Grey? No. Am I tired of reading about him in book 7? Yeah, I am. Like, I don't know what this is adding to the story. I don't know. Maybe at the end of the book I'll understand why we're having to have John Grey's point of view and Willie's point of view. I'm just tired of their points of view. I want more Claire and more Jamie. But I am in the middle of book 7, so, and that's a lot. Reading 2 Outlander books in 1 year is a lot. Because those 2 books together is over 3,000 pages. So anyway, love those books, love that series. I think I probably won't read any more Outlander books this year just because book number 10 does not have a release date yet. So I would have book 8 and book 9. There are a couple novellas in there. I think 2 novellas. I think 7.5 and 8.5. So those are short though. I think one's less than 100 pages and one's maybe 150 pages. So I really only have 2 books left in that series without a release date for book 10, which is supposedly the final book in the series. So I just don't want to have to finish book 9 and then still wait years to read book 10. So well, I'm going to take the rest of the year break after I finish book 7. And I think that's okay because those books are so long. Now on to the really long list of series that I'm in the middle of. Now, I'm not going to talk much about these series because I don't want this video to be crazy long. So I'm going to kind of go through them rather quickly of series that I'm in the middle of that I haven't read books for so far this year. So we can skip those. We talked about them already. Okay, so the first, I have a whole Goodreads list of books in series that I need to finish, and that's so that I don't lose track of them. So the first one is the Hercule Poirot series by Agatha Christie. Now, I read Murder on the Orient Express probably like 8 years ago, and I didn't realize that it was in like book 12 or something of that series. I didn't know it was a series. I just thought it was one book and then we were done. Didn't realize it. So I have book 1 on my series to finish list because I read, I don't know if it's book 8 or book 12 or whatever, but I read a book in the middle of the series. So, and honestly, it just hasn't come up in any of my spinner wheel TBR spins, so I just haven't gotten around to continuing that series. We already talked about the London Prep series. However, we have not talked about the That Boy series, also by Gillian Dodd. So, funnily enough, Gillian Dodd is the #1 author on my Fable of the most books that I've read. So I think I've read like 33 books of hers. And so that's the most that I've read from one author. So obviously I like her books. And I have read like 95% of the books that she has written. So That Boy series starts off with one couple, and then it's a trilogy, and then there's another trilogy with one of the other male main characters in the first trilogy and his story, and then there's another trilogy with their kids, and then this next trilogy is one of the other kids, his story. So the first book in this trilogy, but it's still the That Boy series overall, because honestly, if you start reading this last book, you're not going to know who a lot of the other characters are, because they've been introduced way, way long ago in the first book, which is called That Boy. So this one's called That Crush, and it is Damon's story. It's the first book in his story, and it came out in June, and I just haven't gotten a chance to read it. So I'm caught up until that one book. I have the Sherlock Holmes series by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, and this is the Barnes & Noble Classic Edition, and this is volume 2. So I finished volume 1 a couple of years ago, and let me tell you, it's sort of embarrassing. I started volume 1 when I was, I think, a sophomore or a junior in undergrad. So that would have been like 2010 or 2011 that I started volume 1. And I read it like halfway through. I read like half of it and then put it down and didn't finish the other half for like 7 more years. I finished the second half of volume 1 like 2 years ago or something, 3 years ago. So it took me forever to read it. And they're broken up into shorter stories. So like a couple in here. The Adventure of the Sussex Vampire is only 13 pages long. Or this one, The Problem of Thor Bridge, is less than 20 pages long. So they're broken up into, they're short stories, basically. And sometimes there's a longer one thrown in. Like The Valley of Fear is 130 pages long. So that one's a longer story versus some of these shorter stories. So it's easy to read, you know, one story and then take a break, and read one story and take a break. So it wasn't like I was confused when I picked this book back up, because I wasn't in the middle of one of the short stories. So I still do have volume 2 left to read though. And so much for going through these books quickly, Jordan. Jeez. Okay. Then we have the Stephanie Plum series by Janet Evanovich. So I started this series in high school. And she's still writing books for this series. I think this year book like 31 or 32 is coming out, something like that. And this is book 26. So I'm on book 26. So obviously I'm a couple behind, because she writes one a year. And these are relatively short. They're not very long. Usually like 250 to 300 pages. Like this one's just barely over 300 pages. And I like these books. I like the first like 13 or 14 books the best, and then they kind of get really repetitive and a lot of the same things happen, and you know, it's hard to continue a series on this long and still come up with new things when the characters still have the same personalities. So I still like these books. I would recommend the first, you know, 12 or 13 in the series. And then really, it's really just a nostalgia thing from then on for me. So Stephanie Plum series. And then the Wicked Charms, which is a Lizzie and Diesel novel. So we meet Diesel in the Stephanie Plum series. And then Janet Evanovich has written a separate trilogy with Diesel and Lizzie. And this is the last book in that series, and I still have yet to read it. So I just need to get around to reading this third book, and it's not very long either. This series is cute. I love Diesel. I loved reading about Diesel in the Stephanie Plum series, and I love reading about him in this series too. So still have one book left to complete for that trilogy. Mate by Ali Hazelwood, which is coming out later this year. I think it comes out in September. There are a lot of releases in September for me that I'm excited about. I'm just so uncomfortable sitting on this floor. I'm so tired of it. Okay, so Mate is book 2 in the Bride series. The first book was Bride. I really enjoyed it. It's in a megaverse about werewolves and vampires. I liked the first book. I know there was some controversy behind it, but I liked it. So I am excited for the second one. Then also the All In series by Helena Hunting. So I read the Pucked series by her many years ago. Absolutely loved it. Such a good series. So funny. And this series is about their children. So yes, it's its own series, but I'm still counting it as part of the Pucked universe, basically. So I need to actually start that series because I haven't read a book in that series yet. And then we already talked about Part of Your World series by Abby Jimenez, the last 2 books in that. Then we have Eldritch, which is The Eating Woods book 2 by Carrie Lake, and that book comes out in September. The first book was Anathema. Absolutely loved it. 5 stars, so good. Cannot wait to read Eldritch. And then we have Road Trip with a Vampire by Jenna Levine, which is the 3rd book in that series. Then we have the This Man series by Jodi Ellen Malpas. So I've read the first 4 books in the series. Books basically 5, 6, and 7 are from Jesse's point of view. So he's the main male character in the first 4 books. And these last 3 are from his point of view. So basically they're books 1 through 3, just in Jesse's point of view. And I just honestly haven't gotten to them yet. I read book 4 probably 2 years ago, and it was okay. It was fine. I really love the original trilogy. It's one of my all-time favorite series. So I just need to read these last 3 books. Then we've got the Song of Fire and Ice series, which I've only read the first book. I have been putting these off for so long. I read the first book like 10 years ago or something, and haven't picked up the second one. I just need to do it because I know they're going to be so good. I just struggled through book 1 so hard that I've been dreading picking these up. So I just need to get to them. But then again, we don't have a release date for the next book. Last book in the series, next book in the series, I don't know. We don't have a release date for it, so where's the rush? Then we've got the Never After series by Emily McIntyre. So I've read four of the 6 books in this series. And these are, in fact, true standalone books. So even though they're a series, the Never After series, they are true standalone books. There are no crossovers between the characters. These are fractured fairy tale retellings and retold in basically from the villain's point of view. Like the villain is the main character. And I've read Hooked, Scarred, Wretched, and Hexed. What's book 6? And Hexed. I have not read books 4 and 5, which are Twisted and Crossed. Now, the reason I didn't read those 2 books is because Twisted is based off of Aladdin, and the main male character, the love interest, is Jafar, and that kind of grossed me out. And then in Cross, it's the creepy Catholic priest from the Hunchback of Notre Dame, and he's gross in those movies, in that movie. He's creepy, and so I didn't want to read a book where he is the main male character love interest. However, one of my friends that I work with, she's read both of them, and she said once you get into them, they're not creepy at all. It's totally fine. So I still want to read those 2 books in the series. I need to borrow them from her. But I read like, I don't know, 5 or 10 pages of Twisted, which is the one about Jafar, and I was so grossed out. I just couldn't get his gross face out of my head. So, but she said they're good. She said she wasn't grossed out at all by who the characters were based off of. So I think I can get through it and read it. So that series, I have 2 books left in that series, and they're true standalones. So then I have the More Than series by Jay McLean. So I've only read the first book in the series, and there are 6 books total. So I might just restart the first one. I'm not sure, but the More Than series, it's a love story. I think they're in high school. I can't remember. It's been a really, really long time since I've read book 1, but the More Than series by Jay McLean. Then I have the Salvation series by Corinne Michaels. So I've read the first 2 books, and this series is broken up into duets. So I've read the first 2 books. I read those years and years and years ago. And now the second 2, which is the second duet, is Consolation and Conviction. And I just haven't read them yet. I honestly sort of kind of remember what happened in the first 2 books, but not really. So I'm not sure how they're connected. I'm not sure any of this. I don't know a whole lot about the books to begin with. I just know that it's part of an overall series, and they're like interconnected duets. I don't know. They're on the list. Then I don't know how I skipped over this, but these books right here, This is the Love in the City series by Steph Nuss. And she's an indie author, and I started reading those books when she released them. I think the first book came out probably, I was in grad school, so maybe like 2013 or something like that. And she still hasn't written book 7 yet. So she's written book 1 through 6, so she hasn't written the last book in the series yet. And so I'm impatiently waiting for that. I don't know if it'll ever come, but that book is on the list. It has been on the list. Then we have 2 series by Penny Reed. So she wrote the Winston Brothers series, and I've read that whole series except for one novella. And in doing some research, that one novella has to be read in the middle of the Cletus and Jen books. So Cletus is one of the brothers. He's a Winston brother, so his main book is part of that series. But then he has a spin-off series with his wife, Jen. And it's called Solving for Pi, because Cletus is very smart, very cerebral. So this series is called Solving for Pi, and so I haven't started that series yet. But one of the novellas for the Winston Brothers series, you're supposed to read in the middle of this Cletus series, so I've got both of those series on my list still. Then I've got the In Death series by J.D. Robb. I think this is the book I'm on. I think I'm on book 10. There are 40, maybe 50 books in this series. I literally have no idea anymore. Obviously, I'm only on book 10. These books are fine. Police procedural mysteries, where you have the main female character, Dallas, and she's a New York detective, Eve Dallas, and she's married to Rourke, who previously was like a thief or something, and he kind of does some shady stuff, but he helps her, like his backdoor, like black market, dark net stuff helps her. And this is set in the future. Actually, it might be set in I think it's set in like 2050, and they've got like flying cars and like microwaves that create whole meals for you and stuff like that. And it's good. I like the series, but sometimes I get kind of bored with it, and it's just, you know, I like it. If you're really into police procedurals, this is a really good series for you. And then I only recently found out that Wild Reverence by Rebecca Ross is actually going to be a prequel book to Divine Rivals, which is the Letters of Enchantment series. So this is, Wild Reverence is going to be book number 0. So I have recently added that to my series to finish list because I thought I was done because I read the duet, I read the duology, and now we're having a prequel. So added that to the list because I loved Divine Rivals and I loved Ruthless Vows, so let's bring on more of this world. Then we've already talked about the Gold Rush Ranch series. I have books 3 and 4 left. Then by Karen Slaughter, I have the second book in the Andrea Oliver series, which is called Girl Forgotten. So I read the first book in that series a long time ago, probably in like 2019 or something like that. And I didn't realize until, like, I don't know, probably a year or two, that there was a second book in that series, or duology, and so that's on the list. Then I have the rest of the Thoughtless series by S.C. Stevens. So I have the last 3 books in that series. Book number 5 is on my August TBR. So hopefully I will be continuing that series this year. So we'll see. I loved the first 4 books a lot. So we'll see where book 5 goes. Then I have the Ghost Bird series by C.L. Stone. And when I tell you I love this series, I love this series so much. So this is a reverse harem, Why Choose series. And I love all of the characters. I love the storyline. I love these books. They're so freaking good. However, I have not read like the last 2 or 3 books because there were such large gaps between when the books were being released that I couldn't remember what had happened in the previous book in order to read the next one. So I have paused reading that series until a couple of books have built up, so I can read those kind of in a row. And I'm definitely gonna have to go back and read some of the previous books because I do not remember what's going on. There is like an overarching mystery where there's one guy and he's after this group, and I don't remember exactly what's going on with that overarching story. I can't remember. So the Ghostbird series by C.L. Stone, still have to finish that. We've already talked about the Fallen Crest universe. I've got 2 books left in that series. Then I've got The Lord of the Rings. So I don't know where my copies went. I can't find them. They're around here somewhere. But I've read The Hobbit. I read that book a long, long time ago. And then never continued with the other main books. So I have Fellowship of the Ring, Two Towers, Return of the King. I have the Silmarillion. And then I have another Tolkien book over here somewhere. It's like a compendium. I don't remember. So I've got those books left to finish as well. So I've only read The Hobbit, and I might listen to the audiobooks for the others. I'm not really sure yet. But that is another series that I need to finish. So that is the last one on the list. I'm sure somewhere, somehow, I've forgotten some. Hopefully that's all the series. It's a lot. This video is quite long. And, you know, like I said at the beginning of the video, series are just never ending. It seems like no matter how hard you try to finish series, that list is just never ending because there are always new series coming out, the next book in the series coming out. I mean, I have all of these Illumicrate and Fairy Loot books that basically they're all book 1 in new series. There are very few standalones because the genre is fantasy or romantasy, and a lot of those are series. So it's a lot. And I will never be finished reading series. I love series. Because I love the character development, continuing the story, and getting to learn more about the characters and this big overarching theme and big plots and all that stuff. But sometimes it's just really difficult to keep up with. So I try to keep a grasp and a handle on it, but you know, some of these series I haven't read in many, many years, but I'm gonna make an effort. I'm doing a 24-hour readathon next week, so be on the lookout for that video. And I think my theme for that 24-hour readathon is going to be finishing series I'm in the middle of, because I've got like 2 or 3 books on my August TBR that are in the middle of series. So my plan is to read those books during that 24-hour readathon and tick off some books and some series. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Please let me know below if you've read any of these series and you liked them or you didn't like them. If I shouldn't bother to finish some of these series. Please give this video a like, subscribe to my channel if you want to, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye.